Hi, from the Florida beachfront. Today I wanted to read verse 5 from the Tao Te Ching translation by Wayne Dyer and then talk about it a little bit for everybody. So verse 5 says, "Heaven and earth are impartial. They see the 10,000 things as straw dogs. The sage is not sentimental. He sees all his people as straw dogs. The sage is like heaven and earth. To him none are especially dear, nor is there anyone he disfavors. He gives and gives without condition, offering his treasures to everyone. Between heaven and earth is a space like a bellows, empty and inexhaustible. The more it is used, the more it produces. Hold on to the center. Man was made to sit quietly and find the truth within." I find it interesting because impartiality, I think, is one of the highest virtues that we could practice. And to me, that does mean seeing the essence in all life and all beings, and which is very difficult to do. But that's why it says here, he is not sentimental and he treats all the people as straw dogs. And in ancient Chinese times, straw dogs were something that were used at festivals. They'd be revered and honored during the festival, but when the festival was over, the straw dogs would be trampled underfoot, which is interesting because it would go from them finding this importance in them to not caring about the straw dogs at all. So impartiality is something that involves me being able to see people equally. And like a good test in impartiality would be a waitress. Say there's a waitress that's serving you that compliments you and you really like her and she's very impressive. Could you imagine yourself giving that waitress the same tip as a waiter that is rude and messes up your food? To most of us, that'd be like incomprehensible. We're like, no, they deserve different tips. But if you really treated beings impartially, regardless of their personalities and egos, you wouldn't offer them anything different. You would be the same to all. And it's very difficult to do because we have such strong attachments. Like, I think I'm going to treat my family member better than somebody that I don't know. And that's okay because of our attachment. But as I mature in my spirituality and as I grow, more and more am I able to treat everyone and everything a little more equally, where I could have two patients at work and one has a very favorable personality and is very nice to me. One has a not very attractive personality and maybe is suspicious of me. Can I treat both of those people with the same impartiality, with the same loving kindness? Like it says, the sage gives without condition, offering his treasures to everybody. Can I give without expecting anything in return? Without only giving to the person that I think is going to give me something back? Or even, can you give to somebody who's not even going to appreciate your giving? Whether it's money, time, love, or understanding. Because it's much easier to give to somebody that's going to say thank you at least, or say you're amazing, or thank you for your time. But can you give just as much to somebody that it makes no difference to them, that might not even see that as an act of kindness? And then I like how he also says in here, the sage is not sentimental, because as I've grown spiritually and lost a little bit of attachment in my life, I have less clinging to needing to take pictures of wherever I go, or needing to cling on to certain people that I've met and hang on to certain experiences, or take a look at like certain objects that were important to you or important to other people in your life. We have such strong attachments to them, but as I start to grow and evolve, and I see that there's an abundance of experiences and they're always going to be here, and there's an abundance of love and it will always be here. I don't have to cling so tightly onto these certain little things, because really it's a sign of the weakness of my mind. It's a sign of a fear and an insecurity when I cling onto these things. And I had an example of that in my daily life today when I was talking to somebody at the beach that I ran into that I found was in a similar recovery program that I am in. And we had a really great conversation. And in the past, my mind would want to try and hold on to that. And I'd be like, hey man, let me get your phone number. Let me get your Facebook. Even though odds are we're never going to talk again, we live halfway across the country, where now I still thought of it, but I was able to just let that be, have that beautiful conversation with the man, and then just know that I'm never going to see him again, and then just walk off and say goodbye. So I think of those things where it says the sage is not sentimental. He treats the 10,000 things as straw dogs. And then the next verse says, the sage is like heaven and earth. To him none are especially dear, nor is there anyone he disfavors. Wow, that's so powerful to me, because he's saying the sage is like God. And the Chinese, rather than saying God, they say heaven and earth. And so that is so powerful. None are especially dear, and there is no beings that he disfavors. Just think about all the beings and people that we disfavor. And it goes on to say, he gives and gives without condition, offering his treasures to everyone. Between heaven and earth is a space like a billows, empty and inexhaustible. The more it is used, the more it produces. So there's this limitless capability for growth and abundance that's inherent in the world. And although it all comes out of nothing, out of emptiness, out of God, it appears as this form, and it's realized in the virtue of giving, in the virtue of love, in the virtue of service. And a lot of times we think that to be loving, we have to be attached, we have to be sentimental, like I can't get rid of something that was given to me by someone who died, or whatever the case might be. And it's okay, because we are human and we have to move at our own pace, so you don't want to throw things off that you aren't ready to throw off. But just the idea of moving towards this possibility of being in the world and being able to love. And Ramdas would talk about, can you see somebody on the street and love them more than you loved anybody you ever met? Not in a sexual way, but feel a beautiful connection to them and talk to them, and then not really care if you ever see them again. Like, is your loving strong enough? Are you confident in your own being that you can see that and be okay, and not have to say, like he said, the person was like, hey, we got to have dinner again next week or the week after that. Do we not have to cling to that? Can I be strong enough and rooted enough in the Tao, in being, that I can see this love's everywhere and that it will always be here? And so the last verse says, hold on to the center. Man was meant to sit quietly and find the truth within. So the Taoists have a really nice perspective. It's interesting because they come out of the I Ching, and so do the Confucian scholars. And Confucian scholars are on the side of doing, of acting, of propagating, of growing, where the Taoists are like the yang to that yin side, where they are about non-action and non-doing and sitting there quietly, and as Lao Tzu says, finding the truth within. So that's like the essence of being a human being, and the essence of spiritual growth is eventually we come to a place where we naturally have this desire, this longing to get a little more quiet internally, like to stop all the rat race, all the stuff that's going on in our minds, and to find that truth within, to find that space. And as we reach through that space, or what Lao Tzu calls that void, we'll have many struggles along the way, and it'll be an extremely long journey, and sometimes we're going to fail, and a lot of the times we're going to think it's all a waste, and we haven't made any progress, and it's very easy to cling from moment to moment mind experiences. So if my mind is feeling shitty today, I'm going to think, wow, this is all a waste. All these years I've been doing these practices, all these years I've been trying to cultivate virtue, and what good has it done for me? The person who's not doing this seems just as happy. But there has to be sort of a trust and faith in the universe and the way of things, realizing that that's not necessarily the case, such as Socrates in Plato's Republic talking about justice. It can seem that the unjust person is winning, is happier, is doing better, is even more favored and seen as just when you are not. But ultimately, in the end, your soul, and over lifetimes of experience, the soul that is cultivating virtue, it is the one that's really going to find that peace and happiness, and is going to be able to give and serve others. And there's no other better feeling, I know from my experience, than giving without condition, than really being able to give to others without any thought for myself, on the rare occasions that I can do that. So sitting quietly and finding the truth within is something that really, once you've started on the path, there's no turning away from it, because it's like a sort of nature propelling you. It's like nature propelling me to seek this truth within, and no matter how hard I try, I can't forget about it. So therefore, I work on myself, and I do that as an offering to others as well. And I try to do the best to the best of my ability to serve other beings, and that's just the best that I can do. So I am grateful for you guys listening to this verse. What I really wanted to stress in here, above all, is the impartiality and the sentimentality. So do little acts in your life and practice being impartial to different personalities, to different creatures that may give you a hard time. Practice to giving to those that you don't expect to get anything from. Sort of little things like that to tweak your normal way of looking at things, my normal way of thinking. And may God and the Tao be with you on this beautiful journey. And now here's a break with a message from our sponsors. Are you tired of paying too much to H&R Block or others to prepare your tax return? Are you finally done pulling your hairs out over TurboTax or worrying about whether you completed your Form 1040 correctly? Well, worry no longer. With Momcilovic Tax and Accounting, you're in great hands. With over 35 years of experience and over 250 clients to show for, CPA Mile Momcilovic is the accountant you can trust. Straightforward, inexpensive, professional. All it takes is 3 easy steps. Step 1. Email or text us for more information. Step 2. Receive an invite email to load your data. Step 3. Review and sign your returns electronically in a safe and secure way. The best part about it, you can do your taxes and accounting no matter what state you're in. If you want a knowledgeable licensed expert, he's your guy. With tax returns starting at $125 for single filers and $150 for joint filers. You are guaranteed a fair price and excellent service. Stop the worrying and leave it up to the professional. Email Mile at info@momcilovicaccounting.com, text him at 773-578-0996, or go to momcilovicaccounting.com. Website link and contact information can be found in the description below. To learn more, follow Momcilovic Tax and Accounting on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Also, if you have any tax or accounting related questions, feel free to contact Mile free of charge. Start your journey of a stress-free tax season today.